This week I'm putting together a budget-friendly meal plan for 5 days of meals for 2 people. Hi, I'm Caitlin, a licensed nutritionist, a budget-friendly food blogger, and a current culinary student. This is my 2025 budget-friendly meal plan for busy people. One of the trendy things you've probably heard about recently is that having 30 or more different plants per week can be extremely beneficial for your gut microbiome. So for this video, I'm also tracking all of the whole, unprocessed plants we're including in this meal plan. I'm actually prioritizing foods that we already have in our freezer because we're moving in a couple of weeks and I need to use up what we have. So let's dive in. Zach was actually out of town on grocery shopping day, so I struggled up the 5 flights of stairs with a full backpack and 2 bags of groceries, but I did it. For this week, I'm utilizing meal prep habits because I pack both breakfast and lunch to take to my school at least 3 days a week. But since day 1 is Sunday, we're starting with a lovely homemade breakfast. First up, I'm going to tackle this huge bunch of Swiss chard. Swiss chard is very available and very affordable here in Spain where I'm filming this. You could use kale, collard greens, spinach, or whatever is most affordable wherever you are. We'll be using this Swiss chard for several recipes throughout the week, so I'm gonna wash and prep all of it and store most of it in the fridge in an airtight container for later. I will separate the stems and chop these as well, but I'll store them separately to use throughout the week. Next, we're making roasted potatoes, my favorite breakfast item. First, I'm cubing these yellow potatoes. Have my cutting skills improved after 3 months of culinary school? I don't know, I can't tell, you tell me. Then I'm tossing the potatoes on a parchment-lined baking sheet with olive oil, salt, red pepper flakes, and black pepper. These go into the oven for a total of 40 minutes on 400 degrees Fahrenheit, but we'll actually take them out about 10 minutes early to add some cherry tomatoes. I love these juicy roasted tomatoes. You can use cherry or grape here, and the crispy potatoes are perfection. It's hot. Meanwhile, we're gonna cook up a full pound of ground turkey. I'm only using some of this for today's meal. I will save most of it for other meals during the week, but I'm gonna cook all of it so it's ready. I season this with dried oregano, basil, salt, and garlic powder. Once that's fully cooked, remove it from the pan and we'll move on to the vegetables. I'm gonna saute a little bit less than half a small onion for a few minutes with salt, and then I'm gonna add a few handfuls of the chopped Swiss chard. I'll plate that up. Next, I'll fry an egg using my favorite steam saute method, which only takes 2 to 3 minutes. I'm adding a little shredded cheese here since I have it on hand for other recipes this week, but you can totally skip it if you prefer. Plate everything together and serve it with an apple on the side. This breakfast is one of my favorites. I just love having a variety of colors and textures, and it's my favorite way to eat when I have time in the morning. Since the oven is already on for these potatoes, I'm also gonna do some prep for later in the week. I need about 3 cups of cubed squash for dinner later, so I'll cut up about half of the squash into cubes and store that in an airtight container in the fridge. And the other half is gonna get roasted, so we'll put that in the oven. And once it's super soft, let it cool and then remove the flesh from the skin. Because roasted squash still has a lot of water, I let this drain in a strainer before mashing it up and storing it in the fridge. Since this was a Sunday, I was also planning on going for a hike with one of my classmates, and I wanted to make a snack to bring along. I decided to make a version of my very popular cookie dough bites. To start, I'm just blitzing up some rolled oats. They should be in between instant oats and flour. Then I'm gonna add some chia seeds, salt, honey, and peanut butter. I'm also blitzing up some mini chocolate chips. I've had these for many, many months in my pantry. I want them blitzed up today since they're a little older and a little more brittle in texture. I also added a little bit of whole oats for texture. Then I combined everything in a large bowl and scooped out heaping tablespoons of the mixture. Roll these between your palms and store them in the fridge. The recipe on my site uses hemp hearts as well for added protein, as well as sunflower seed butter for a nut-free option, but hemp hearts were not in the budget for this week, and peanut butter is much cheaper, so that's what we're using today.
Oh, it's really raining now.
Yeah, it's really raining. For lunch on day 1, I'm making a lentil dish that was recommended to me by my sister, or rather, my sister made it and my nephew recommended it. I'm winging a few things, of course, based on what I have on hand. I've had some bacon pieces in my freezer for a while, and they're perfect for soup. While that thaws in a little warm water, I'm gonna start off by preparing the vegetables. We're dicing half an onion and 2 medium carrots. Those little brunoise carrot pieces definitely look professional, don't you think? Next up is minced garlic, and then we can start cooking. In a good-sized pot, Spoiler alert, this one was not big enough. We're cooking down the bacon, then it's your basic soup protocol. Sweat out the onions. I'm adding some Swiss chard stems here. As you see, I had to switch to a larger pot, and then we're gonna add in garlic, carrots, and some pantry herbs. Then we're gonna add the French lentils, some chopped parsley, and some store-bought chicken broth. I do always prefer homemade broth. It just tastes better and it has a better nutritional profile, but I just didn't have any on hand. So I'm hoping the other flavors will do a lot of the heavy lifting in this soup. After simmering long enough to cook the lentils, I took it off the heat and added the green parts of the Swiss chard that I had chopped up earlier. I decided to make this ahead of my hike so that it would be ready to go when I got back. I heated it up with a slice of toasted bread and it was delicious. Another thing I might do if I make this in the future is maybe top it with some cashew cream if I have that on hand. While it's still light out, I wanted to get the rest of my meal prep out of the way. We're prepping overnight oats for breakfast. Zach and I have been having these twice a week since I started culinary school, and they're so perfect for meal prep. Just stir everything together and put it in the fridge overnight. I also toasted some pepitas, which are the inside part of pumpkin seeds, in a dry skillet just because I don't like them raw, and I stewed some frozen mixed berries to put on top. Store anything extra in the fridge for another day. Now that my Monday breakfast is prepped, I'm also gonna prep a little grilled cheese for Monday lunch to go along with my stew. It's not gonna be a nice fresh grilled cheese at lunchtime, but it will be a good addition to my lunch. As much as I do love soups and stews, I usually prefer to have something on the side that goes with them, a piece of bread, some crackers, etc. And now it's time for day one's dinner. We're making a butternut squash stew. This is an oldie but goodie. Usually I use ground pork or beef and lots of seasonings, but today we're using 2 chicken legs and thighs. I seared them a little bit first, but I don't think that actually added anything to the final result, so you can totally skip that. Just like the lentil stew, we're gonna cook down some onions, then add the Swiss chard stems and minced garlic. Then we're gonna add some red pepper flakes and smoked paprika. I added the cubed squash, some cooked white beans, and the chicken legs. You can also add whole fennel seed or ground fennel if you've got it on hand. Cover everything, especially the chicken, with water or chicken broth, depending on what you have on hand. And also add a can of diced tomatoes. And whoops, as you see, I didn't realize these weren't diced until I dumped in the whole can, so I chopped them up as best as I could with my utensil. Once the chicken is fully cooked, remove it from the pot and then blend up just a little bit of the soup if you'd like to make it a little thicker. Then add the chopped Swiss chard and taste for seasoning. Once the chicken has cooled a bit, shred it and add it back to the pot and you're ready to serve. We're having this for dinner tonight. And before bedtime, I'm pulling some black beans out of the freezer. In the morning, I have to do a little bit of prep for my meals. My school doesn't have a microwave or a kitchenette for students, so I'm heating up my lunch several hours early and storing it in a thermos. I also microwaved the sandwich and wrapped it back up in foil. Obviously, if you have a fridge at work and a microwave, this is a much more streamlined process. After a long bike ride in the dark, for my breakfast on day 2, I'm eating overnight chia oats at school before class. And for lunch, I just had a few minutes on a break to eat my lentil stew and grilled cheese. I also had a few cookie dough bites after lunch. For dinner on day 2, we're making a butternut squash pasta dish. This sauce is based on the pumpkin sauce on my blog, but we're using blended up cottage cheese instead of milk. When the pasta has about 1 to 2 minutes left of cooking time, I'm adding in a few servings of frozen broccoli before draining it so it can cook at the same time. We're also going to save a little pasta water to use to thin out the sauce. To finish up the sauce, we'll just cook some garlic and olive oil, then add the milk of your choice. I'm using soy milk, some oregano or Italian herb seasoning, the squash and cottage cheese mixture, and a little pasta water. To put it all together, add some of the ground turkey we cooked the day before to the sauce to warm it up, along with the pasta and broccoli. Serve it and top with any fresh herbs you have on hand and enjoy. This recipe came out great. It had a very similar flavor profile to my pumpkin sauce, so either would work here. I wanted to use the cottage cheese for a little extra protein. Next, no surprises, we're going to do a little bit of meal prep. I'm making a breakfast box for tomorrow morning. We're throwing together some cottage cheese pancakes with oats, cottage cheese, eggs, honey, nut butter, baking powder, and salt. I'm blending the pancake batter in batches and then cooking them on each side until golden brown. As always, you can check the description box to get all of the recipes from this video, but this recipe is also on my website, frugalnutrition.com. These pancakes are going into a breakfast box with cucumbers, kiwis, and hard-boiled eggs. To make the hard-boiled eggs easier to peel, I put them in an ice bath after cooking, but when they're cool enough to the touch, I crack them all over and add them back into the ice bath for a few minutes before peeling them. Since I'll be eating this cold in the morning, I'm just throwing everything into this metal lunchbox for tomorrow. I like to cut my hard-boiled eggs in half and add a little sriracha before sandwiching them back together. For tomorrow's lunch, we're making a really easy black bean salsa salad that's been on my blog for a long time, but I absolutely love. All we're doing is combining some cooked black beans and salsa and then stirring in some chopped cilantro and feta cheese and some fresh lime juice. I packaged this up with some arugula on the side so it won't get too soggy before lunchtime, then topped it all with sliced avocado and a little more lime juice. This is also great with cheese quesadillas if you're having it at home, or even some tortilla chips on the side. I packed everything together in my cool stackable lunchbox to take to school the next day. And as you can see, for breakfast on day 3, I'm enjoying my very filling breakfast box at school. For lunch, I had to borrow a fork because I forgot mine, but I'm enjoying the black bean salad. And then for dinner, we're keeping things super simple on day 3. I'm just reheating the leftover butternut squash stew. We're gonna do a little bit of meal prep again. We're gonna do the overnight chia oats again, which I made the night before and then ate at school. For lunch on day 4, I'm doing the black bean salsa salad again. Zach had a quesadilla at home to go with his salad. For dinner on day 4, we're having the ginger beef and cabbage bowls from my blog. I've definitely been making this recipe for at least 10 years. I started cooking this back when we lived in Japan, and it's remained on regular rotation ever since. This one's really simple. You're basically cooking some ground beef with onions and ginger, and then you're gonna add some cabbage along with seasonings like soy sauce and red pepper flakes. Stir fry everything together, and then you can serve it with white or brown rice, or in my case, I'm actually gonna serve it with some rice noodles. I had these pad thai style rice noodles in my pantry, so I wanted to use them up. You can cook them or rehydrate them according to the package instructions, then drain and rinse them and toss them with a little bit of sesame oil to prevent them from sticking. In this case, I only cooked enough for tonight's dinner because the rice noodles do stick together and they are better fresh. For day 5, we're having basically the same thing as the breakfast box that we had earlier in the week. Because I'm at home on day 5, I have it all out as a breakfast plate here instead. For today's eggs, I decided to give them a little splash of soy sauce. I do prefer to reheat pancakes in the toaster or toaster oven. Then I'm gonna top them with a little bit of maple syrup and enjoy. For lunch, we're heating up the rest of the butternut squash pasta, and instead of doing frozen broccoli, we're gonna have this with the rest of the arugula from earlier in the week. And for dinner, we're finishing things off with the rest of the ginger beef and cabbage dish. We'll prepare some more rice noodles and just heat up the ginger beef and cabbage in the microwave. This meal prep is only for 5 days simply because that's just what worked best for me this year, but you'll definitely have some ingredients left over, so you can certainly stretch that to get a few more meals. It can be pretty challenging to have variety when you're on a budget, so I'm pretty pleased that we were able to hit 30 different plans in 5 days of meals. As a reminder, I do price these meal plans based on the grocery prices in Baltimore, Maryland, which is actually a relatively expensive place. So depending on wherever you are in the world, you may end up paying more or less for similar meals. Since most of you are also very budget conscious, I would love to hear in the comments if you have any other tips for me or for our fellow viewers for how you like to get variety and save money on your groceries. And if you'd like to hear a little bit more about my journey in culinary school, follow me over on Instagram at Frugal Nutrition. I hope this gave you some great ideas. Thank you so much, as always, for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.
A lot of noise the nights we shut these doors.
It's not that late, Zach. It's like 7:30.
Okay, hold on. Oh no. Zach was... This one... Oh my god, why can't I get this out? Or whatever else you like.